This one seems to be in rare form this evening. No, you're in rare form. Painting it. There was a lot of painting it, I know. It seemed redundant. It was. And I wasn't the one who painted it. They get along well, but their communication is sometimes in like caveman style, like grunting and motions. Anyway, got home at 1 o'clock, finished packing. We were in the car and on the road before 3 p.m. driving from Maine to Florida. Oh. Well, we better film fast. He's not gonna make it. He's gonna bleed out. So we'll try to roll this along before he bleeds out. One final Brittney and Brandon show. Hi, welcome back to the Brittney and Brandon Show. It's been a little while. I don't even know what episode this is. Do you have any idea what episode it is?
5.
I think it might be 6. We're gonna go with episode 6, maybe. I don't know. I will update it correctly later if I discover that 6 is not the accurate number. So, if you have not been here before, welcome to this podcast of ours. It is available for you to view on YouTube, so there is a visual component that goes with it, but you can also just listen to the audio if you would like. And on this podcast, we talk a lot about life, just our perspective as parents and what it is like to be raising 3 children in 2023 and being married for a long time. Today, we are filming on July 10th, and that is our anniversary. Today is our, do you remember?
13th.
13th wedding anniversary.
It's not Friday.
No, it's not Friday.
It's a good thing it's not Friday.
Why? Oh, Friday the 13th. I see. Yeah, that would be interesting to have a 13th wedding anniversary on Friday the 13th. Well, that's not going to ever happen to us because next year we'll be on to the 14th year. So, anyway, to recap, we just chat about life and we talk about the things that we experience and we offer advice when it feels like it fits, and we like to keep it real around here. And so, come along with us on this journey of life.
It's a journey.
It's a journey.
Big journey.
So where have we been? Why has the Brittney and Brandon Show been on a bit of a hiatus for the last several weeks? I'm not even sure when our last Brittney and Brandon Show episode aired. And
sorry.
Oh gosh.
I missed it.
Was there a bug?
There's a little like fruit fly thing.
That was a bit aggressive.
Sorry.
Okay, so I'm not sure when our last episode aired. But life has been busy, very busy since our last episode aired. And I think that is just the general reason for why the Brittney and Brandon Show needed to go on a pause. But we are, and we are happy and healthy and ready to chat with you guys. So let's get into today's episode. We're going to talk a little bit about where we've been in terms of why we haven't been here on YouTube on the Brittney and Brandon Show, in addition to the vacation that we went on in Florida. We are also going to talk about our plan for the Brittney and Brandon Show, our long-term plan as we move forward. We're going to chat a little bit about anniversaries. I'm going to share a comical encounter or situation with you from to the tail end of our vacation. It's a bit of a doozy.
Oh, that one, yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about?
I do.
Yeah, it involves an emergency pit stop.
Only you.
Pretty much only me.
It's all you.
An emergency pit stop for a very necessary item. Anyway, we'll get there. And then if we have any extra time before we need to end this episode, we'll chat a little bit about what our kids are currently doing to keep themselves busy over the summer. So let's dive in. In this first portion of our vlog, we're going to chat about where we've been. So in the time that we've been away and not producing any new Brittney and Brandon Show episodes, I have finished my 11th year as a teacher. That was a whirlwind. I feel like every year, no matter how prepared I try to be, regardless of the fact that this was the 11th time I was ending a school year, those last 2 weeks feel like an absolute whirlwind. I'm living day to day, moment by moment. I'm heavily relying on my teammates at school, and we are just treading water. And this seems to be the common theme with the beginning of a school year and the end of a school year. There's a lot going on. And at the end of the school year, there's a lot of emotions. For kids and teachers, it's bittersweet. That is a term that I use pretty often to describe the end of the school year. I'm so excited and ready for summer vacation and to have a little bit of a breather from my regular commitments as a teacher, but I'm going to miss my kids, my school kids, so much. And I think what's really hard is that I know when I go back in the fall, it's a whole new set of kids, and I feel like I'm starting over, and I don't get to have those same kids that I built this really strong and deep bond with. And they feel the same way, especially at the 4th grade level. There were a lot of tears on the last day of school, and it was bittersweet because they were excited, but they were nervous, and they were sad, and just a whole mix of emotions. And of course, kids are going to experience a variety of different situations over the summer. Some have great plans and are involved in summer camps and get to hang out with family and maybe do a little bit of traveling. But then for some of our kids, they're wondering where their next meal is going to come from. So summer looks really different for each individual kid, and that's another thing that we as teachers try to take into account. But I could go on about this for a long time, and that's not the only purpose of this Brittney Brandon Show episode. So one of the things that was going on that was keeping us away from producing additional episodes is I was finishing my 11th year of teaching. And that is a lot of years of teaching. I have now had several hundred children that have been mine. Because if you average every class to about 20 kids, then 5 years would make 100. So I've had a little over 200 students that have been mine in the time that I've been a teacher.
Like the last switching kids.
Oh,
you
true.
actually have 40 at a time.
That's true.
40 at a year.
Okay, so I'm actually probably closer to 300 kids. Very good point. I do switch. I have 2 sets of kids, and I have done that for the last 2 years in 4th grade, and I also did it for 2 years in 6th grade. Right? No, 1 year in 6th grade.
I couldn't tell you.
1 year in 6th grade. So the 1 year in 6th grade, I actually had 3 different groups of kids, and then last year and this year I've had 2 groups of 4th graders. So yeah, I actually probably have had a little over 300 kids that have been my students, because the way we switch classes, we end up with our kids 50% of the time each, my partner teacher and I. So they are all mine. We don't call them my homeroom versus her homeroom. They're all ours, and we love them all. So a lot of kids have been mine, and I always tell them, once you were one of Mrs. Bouchard's kids, you're always one of Mrs. Bouchard's kids. So I have a lot of kids. I've been busy. And that's what I was doing. But while I was doing that, this guy ended his school year beginning of May. Like May, it's usually around my birthday, which is May 9th. Oh, so it was May 8th this year. Last year it was on my birthday. And I really love him finishing the school year before me, because it allows him to have some time before the kids and I are out of school to just get some like house projects done. That's been the thing he's spent his time doing the last couple of years that he's had this schedule, because we're always reinvesting in our house and putting that sweat equity in. I say we. He's really the one putting the sweat equity in. I am the planner and the design person, but he gets to be the manual labor or physical labor. So he's putting the sweat equity in. I'm just telling him what to do to produce the sweat. So that's what he's been doing. That is why we are filming in this space. I didn't even address the fact that we are in a very different looking space than we've ever been in before for our filming. This is my craft room, and the lighting in here is mint. We have 4 lights in this little space. What is the dimensions of this space?
8 by 8. No, 8. No, 10. 8 by 10.
So we have a little 8 by 10 room here. And this opening here, you can't see the opening, but you are sitting outside of the opening of the craft room, and it's just a nice big 6-foot opening, so it doesn't really have a door, and I wanted it that way so it didn't feel closed in and small and all that jazz. Anyway, I'm going to be putting out a vlog on creating this craft room. Not so much him actually putting the walls up and all of that. That's in some house to home episodes. If you haven't checked those out, I'll link them for you, both in the cards and also in the description box. But I will be putting out a video after this comes out related to putting the furniture items in this room and organizing it and turning it into what you currently see. So if that interests you, I will also link that for you when it does go up. It won't be linked right away because, like I said, this Brittney Brandon episode will go up before that does, but it's coming, so keep an eye out for it if you are interested. But we are filming in my craft room, which I am in love with. Brandon has done an amazing job, not only in this space, but also building his own closet, my closet, and finishing off our bedroom. Those spaces are 100% done other than flooring, and if you have seen or choose to tune into any of our house to home episodes, then you will hear about flooring and our plans with that. But those spaces are now done and looking gorgeous. And because my craft space is done, and because the lighting is so fabulous in here, and because this is where I house all of my videography equipment and my content creator equipment at this point, it makes a lot of sense to do our filming here. So, welcome to the foreseeable home of the future, the home of the Brittney and Brandon Show for the foreseeable future. I think that's what I was trying to say. Anyway, so that's what he spent his time doing. You want to talk about that a little bit? Your voice needs to be in the Brittney and Brandon Show. I do a lot of the talking. We're going to get comments about that.
It's a lot of work.
But recap like what you did.
But, while you guys were at school.
Yeah.
Finished sheetrock. Finished the electrical.
Like how many, what's the size of one board of sheetrock? Or one, what do you call that? A board of sheetrock? A sheet of sheetrock. A sheet of sheetrock? A sheet of sheetrock. Huh.
It's 4 foot by 8 foot.
Okay. How many of those, estimate how many of those have you put up?
I think it was like 50 or 60 sheets.
It's a lot of 4x8 sheets.
50 or 60 sheets ish.
Yeah. And when we
taping it, painting it.
Taping it, mudding it, sanding it, mudding it, sanding it, mudding it, sanding it, painting it, painting it, painting it, painting it, painting it. That was a lot of painting it, I know. It seemed redundant. It was.
It was.
And I wasn't the one who painted it. Why did we have to paint so many layers? Or why did you have to paint so many layers?
You tried the sprayer and...
A paint sprayer.
Yeah. And then between diluting the paint and making it thinner and... How would you describe the... When you sand mud, it makes the sheetrock a little fuzzy. Fuzzy?
Yeah. Textured?
Yeah, it's a different texture. So then when you spray really thin paint over it,
the two textures are very obvious.
You don't cover the textures. If anything, it makes the quote-unquote fuzzy part stick up permanently. So after 3 coats of a sprayer, realized that was not happening well. So then 3 coats of rolled-on paint. Luckily, that was just in the bedroom.
Yes, we learned
over there, and then did the rest of it with just a roller. But anyway.
But the foolish thing about all of this is that Brandon's dad, for a period of his life, his profession was sheetrocking. And so, his profession was sheetrocking. He's very familiar with sheetrocking. Brandon has asked him many questions about sheetrocking. This is not the first space we've sheetrocked, but it is the largest space that we have sheetrocked.
It's
So
just like adding patching or the dining room or
yeah. So this is definitely the biggest sheetrocking project by far. And somehow he and his dad have a very interesting way that they communicate, or lack thereof, if you will. They get along well, but their communication is sometimes in like caveman style, like grunting and motions, and they don't always sync up. And sometimes
rarely sync.
And sometimes they think they know what the other means, and then frustration is produced because they misinterpreted. Anyway, somewhere in all of the conversations that occurred about sheetrock, his dad didn't mention that there is a spray.
It's just a primer. It's
a
primer or something else that you could put on that's like a primer to pretty much take care of that issue.
Yeah, so you put this primer on brand new sheetrock, and we didn't know that. So that is the reason that there is painting and painting and painting and painting and painting, because we didn't know about the primer and therefore did not use the primer, and therefore had to put a lot of layers of paint on to cover up for the fact that we hadn't used the primer. So lessons were learned, things were learned.
So I just rolled the rest of it and it came out, I think it came out fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so
because that rolling like has a little bit of texture, but when you spray it there's like zero texture.
Yeah.
So that was the problem.
So the sprayer could have worked, but in our situation it did not. So that's what we've been doing with a lot of our time. That brought us to the end of the school year, which was the middle of June. And right as we finished the school year, we decided, I thought it would be a great idea to immediately leave and drive to Florida. So our school year ended on June 16th at noon. I came home at 1 o'clock after tidying my classroom, grabbing a couple of items that I needed to from one of our neighboring schools. Anyway, got home at 1 o'clock, finished packing. We were in the car and on the road before 3 p.m. driving from Maine to Florida. Not too far into Florida, thankfully, but it is, without any stops or traffic, it's about 21 hours. And we obviously have to stop frequently because we have 3 children, and the last time we went down, last year we brought 2 of our dogs. This year when we went down, we brought all 3 of our dogs. So we had 3 children, 3 dogs, a small U-Haul trailer that we were towing to put the kids' bikes in, and just all the dog crates and things that we were going to need. We've kind of reached the point where there isn't really enough room within the space of the car and the cargo carrier, the roof cargo thing that we had been using. So we went to a 4x8 U-Haul trailer, and that worked really well. It did cause an additional cost in tolls, but the kids used their bikes, I think, every single day while we were there, multiple times a day. So it was really worth it for us to do that and to have their bikes there. We were going down to stay with my grandmother. My dad and my aunt also live in the same area, pretty close to my grandmother. We were staying with my grandmother, and she lives on a very nice road that has just a great little biking section for them right there next to our house. And then also within a very short distance, maybe not even 5 minutes of biking, there's a place called Egan's Creek that the kids and Brandon
it's less than a mile away. Yeah.
Is it a nature preserve?
I don't know if it's like, it might be protected by the town, but it's not like a...
No. I have paperwork on it.
It's like it's called a greenway. I don't know.
A greenway. Anyway, Egan's Creek is a beautiful place. We saw lots of different birds in there. An alligator that was hanging out pretty regularly, and lots of bunnies. Yeah, a few alligators, lots of bunnies, some deer. lots of birds. And there's just multiple different paths that you can walk, bike. There's some more like mountain biking paths that have a lot of roots and things. And then there are some simpler, smoother paths. And there are a couple of beautiful bridges that go over some little waterways. And it's just a nicely maintained little area and is very close to my grandmother. And so easy to bike there and then spend time within Egan's Creek, seeing things, biking, getting sweaty, bitten by bugs, all that stuff. So that is what we decided to do immediately after school ended. And we drove straight. We don't stop overnight. We just pack everyone in, load everything up, and go. We stopped to get gas. We stopped to switch drivers, to go to the bathroom, to let the dogs out. But that is it. And I'm happy to report that the drive down was pretty uneventful. It took us about 24 hours with all of our stops that we made. And so we left Maine at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we got to Florida the next day around 5, 6.
It took 25 hours to get down there.
Oh, so 6?
Yeah.
So, no. 3 to 3 is 24 hours.
It took 25 hours to get down there.
So we didn't get there at 6, we got there at 4? No. Yes?
I just know it took 25 hours because you made a big stink about it taking 26 hours going the less toll way. It only was an hour shorter.
Anyway. We took 95 and it took 25 hours. I don't really remember when we arrived. And
25 hours and for how many dollars? $60 to go over the George Washington Bridge?
No, it was only $40 on the way there. It was $55
So
on the way
almost
back.
$100 to go over your stupid bridge.
Yes. So what Brandon is referring to right now is the George Washington Bridge. It's big, it's beautiful, it's lovely.
In the middle of New York.
It's the bridge that connects New York and New Jersey.
Well, yeah, it's not in the middle of New York. It's awful. Getting on it is awful.
It has 2 levels, the upper level, the lower level.
No sane person likes crossing it.
I really just have an affinity for this bridge. I love architecture, and so this bridge brings me joy to travel across. And it's usually without a trailer, it's around $20-ish to cross it from our previous experiences. This time it was significantly more. I don't know what the alternative path is so that you can avoid the George Washington Bridge.
I could tell you what it was. It was the one we took last year. That's the alternative.
All right. Well, we will be pursuing at least for that section, so that we don't have to go across the George Washington Bridge with a trailer again, because I love it and it's beautiful, but I don't $100 love it. And
it's not that great.
I've done it enough at this point. We often get stuck behind a big truck, and then I don't even get to enjoy the architecture as much as I would have liked to have. So anyway, the George Washington Bridge is a fun
Moving
time.
down on Brittney's list.
It is. Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh, God.
This has been not a fight, but a little bit of a disagreement between us, I think, since the first time we drove down. The first time we went, I think you thought, oh yeah, this is cool, because it was the first time you'd ever gone across it.
And like, this traffic is stupid. And that was enough for me.
We have hit some pretty intense traffic as we were trying to get onto the George Washington Bridge. Not this most recent trip, down or back, but in previous trips we have. So he's been over it for several trips now.
Every time besides the first time.
Yep. And now I think I am reaching that point where I'm a little bit over it too. So we spent 2 nice, beautiful weeks in Florida with family, soaking in the sunshine, enjoying the surrounding areas. We had a date day in St. Augustine together, where it was just Brandon and I, and the kids hung out with my grandmother for the day. That was a really enjoyable experience. Oh! Hit your funny bone and it wasn't funny?
No.
No?
Oh. That doesn't feel good.
What did you hit?
The corner.
No, your body. What?
My funny bone.
I said, did you hit your funny bone and it wasn't funny? And you said no.
No, it wasn't funny.
Then it would be, yes, it wasn't funny. I said, did you hit your funny bone and it wasn't funny? The answer to that would be, yes, I hit my funny bone and it wasn't funny.
I just went with the, no, it wasn't funny.
No, because I said, did you hit your funny bone? And your answer, no, made me feel like you didn't hit. Oh, you're bleeding.
Oh, Brittney.
Casualty.
Oh.
Casualty.
I have white. God.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
He's bleeding from hitting his elbow on the corner of the shelf over there.
Bad review for this shelf.
Well, that's not the shelf's fault. Are you going to make it?
No.
No. Okay. Well, we better film fast. He's not going to make it.
I'm bleeding
He's going to bleed out. So we'll try to roll this along before he bleeds out. One final Brittney and Brandon show. So we spent a day in St. Augustine together. It was very enjoyable. I'll have a vlog coming out on my channel, I believe at the beginning of August, maybe the end of July, about our St. Augustine trip. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in it. But that is one of the highlights of our trip. We both have said that we feel like that was one of our favorite things that we got to do. I did a lot of thrifting. That'll be another vlog that's coming out on my channel. While I was down there, I actually thrifted this dress. I feel like a princess in this dress. Do you want to see it? It is most definitely a princess dress. I'm a little too tall, but princessy. It has pockets. It's lovely. I love the roughly puffy sleeves. So that was one of the items that I thrifted. If you are just listening to this, then I'm sorry you don't get to see the beautiful dress. But this is also available on YouTube, so you can see the beautiful dress if you really would like to. But yes, lots of thrifting, St. Augustine, spent a lot of time with family at the beach. It was a very nice vacation to just get away and
not do things.
Yeah, it was, as I have aged, I have become more okay with not having a super solid plan or itinerary of what I want to do day after day after day while we're on vacation. And instead, the way that I approached this vacation was I made a list of some things I wanted to do while we were there, and I didn't attach any dates to it. It was more like, let's see how we're feeling. There were a few things that we had to do at set times. We went and saw the lighthouse that is on Amelia Island where we were vacationing, and that is only open to the public on Saturday mornings from like 10 to noon, or it's a very small window. So we had to be pretty specific about when we visited that. We also went to the farmers market, which is very large in this area, and that again is only Saturday mornings. So had to be a little bit strategic about those things, but otherwise we could kind of fill in plans as we saw fit. I also spent a full day at IKEA with my grandmother. That's another vlog that'll be on my channel. And this is an annual trip that she and I take. This year we brought Charlie with us, which was...
Oh God, you didn't take me.
This was the first year that we brought Charlie, and she enjoyed it very much for the first half, and then she started to wane and fade toward the latter part of the trip. But we spent a solid 6.5 hours shopping at IKEA, seeing all the things, and it is something that I love doing, my grandmother loves doing. We've both always loved shopping, especially together. We love moseying, as Brandon calls it. I like to do a lap and see everything once, and I like to do a second lap and see everything twice. Sometimes there's a third lap in there, and he can't handle that. He's like, look at it once and move on. Better yet, look at it online and don't even go in person. That's his mentality. So he did not go. He is not invited on these annual trips. He stays home.
I went once, and that was
enough for you? Yeah.
I never want to go back to IKEA. Well, when we went for just the food, that was okay.
We did, yeah, after our
St. Augustine.
Was it? After we went to St. Augustine for the day, on the way back to my grandmother's, we stopped at IKEA and we only went in to the dining area. I did not shop. It was very hard, but I did not. And
I would have left her there if she did.
Yeah, that's what he said. But we just went into the dining area and had a lovely dinner, and then went the rest of the way back to my grandmother's house. And that was a neat thing because I hadn't realized previous to this trip that that was such an easy thing to do, or such a common thing to do, that people just go to IKEA solely to have a meal and leave. They have wonderful prices on their food, and I really enjoy their food. It is Swedish food because it is a Swedish...
It's a whole Swedish store.
Right, it is a Swedish-based company. So the food follows suit with the items, and I really enjoy it. And I think you enjoy it or find it okay.
That was good. I mean, I only had the
meatballs.
I never went back and got that scone thing.
Oh, Brandon, we gotta drive back down. Let's end this. We gotta go.
Yeah.
Gotta go to Florida right now.
I'll be
Actually,
okay never setting foot in IKEA again.
We can just go to Boston. There's an IKEA
Nope.
just outside of Boston.
Don't want to do that either.
Party pooper.
I could just go buy a scone elsewhere. Or I could just learn how to make scones myself.
Wow, the possibilities are endless.
I'm telling you.
My favorite thing at IKEA to eat are their plant balls. I learned also this time that they have veggie balls and plant balls. I had their plant balls, which is what I get every time I go. And then they said, you know, we have these in our frozen food section if you want to buy a bag to take with you. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. So I went to the frozen food section before I left on that day, and I bought what I thought was a bag of the same thing I had eaten for lunch. But it was their veggie balls, which are still good, but I just really prefer their plant balls. And so when we went back for dinner, I saw the frozen food again in the area of the dining location, and saw the separate bags, the plant balls and the veggie balls. And at that point, we were getting a little bit too close to when we were going to be heading home for me to buy a whole bag, because we were not going to be able to
eat them.
I would have liked to have tried, but that's a lot of plant balls in one bag. I really need to find out if I can order them and just have them sent to the house or something. I love these plant balls.
Sorry, Ollie.
Anyway, those are some of the things that we did on our vacation, and all of that is the reason that we've been on a little bit of a hiatus from the Brittney and Brandon Show. But we're back, and so that leads us into, or segues us into, the next portion of this podcast, which is future plans for the Brittney and Brandon Show. Is it back for good? Is this a one-time episode? What's going on with the Brittney and Brandon Show? Our plans for the Brittney and Brandon Show are to film weekly, and so to have a weekly, every Friday night episode available for you throughout the summer. I'm going to be paying attention to ratings and views and all of that to see if Friday nights are still the best time for me to upload these videos. So the timing could differ a little bit, but that's my current plan, and hopefully that'll be a successful time for these episodes to become available to you. So every Friday night during the summer is the goal. And then once the school year begins, realistically, I'm thinking we're going to reduce the Brittney and Brandon Show from an average of 4 episodes a month, one every Friday, to bi-weekly. So every other Friday we would upload a new episode of the Brittney and Brandon Show. I would love to be able to continue to do it weekly. I just don't think that's realistic, especially knowing what the beginning of a school year looks like for myself, for Brandon, for our kids who are in the mix. I don't want to commit to something that we end up not feeling like we can follow through with, or we're following through with it and just not producing quality, captivating, relevant content for you guys. So instead, the tentative plan is weekly throughout the summer, bi-weekly once the school year begins. And if anything with that changes, I will be sure to update you in the community section of my channel and just keep you up to date on what's going on with our busy lives. This isn't the only content I produce on this channel. This is the content that we produce together that Brandon is part of, but there is quite a bit of other content that I'm a little more in charge of creating and producing. Brandon shows up in a lot of my videos. Well, no, you show up in a lot of them.
Oh.
But he is still a present figure in most of my other videos that go up on my channel, but I'm the one behind creating, producing, all that. I still do all the editing for the Brittney Brandon Show as well, but he's here as a guest, a co-star, a guest.
I could be
star,
a guest.
You're not a guest. You're here every week. That's not a guest.
It's the Brittney Show with Brandon.
No, we are co-hosts. There we go, co-host. He's here as my co-host. We are co-hosting the Brittney and Brandon Show.
I'm a guest, it's okay.
No, you're not a guest.
If we do the percentage of talking,
okay, well,
it's clearly your show and I'm a guest.
I would say that's because I'm a teacher, but you're also a teacher.
Yeah.
So, I think...
You're a woman.
Excuse you.
It's true. It's instinctive to want to talk a lot.
I would say I also come by it genetically. My grandmother enjoys talking a lot, and I do as well. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother in my youth, and I think she got that talking gene
The gift
nice and
of
primed
gab.
for me. The gift of gab. Yeah. So those are the plans for the future of the Brittney and Brandon Show. If you are enjoying this series on my channel, I would love to hear from you in the comments. That just helps us to know what we should continue to put in these episodes, and it encourages us to keep making these episodes because it lets us know that you're enjoying them. Or even if you have any constructive criticism, we welcome that also. But it's sounding like I'm closing out the episode, and I'm not yet. We have a couple more things I want to talk about. One being that I'm about to hit the 1-year anniversary for the Bees business on YouTube, and that is exciting.
What is that day?
I don't remember the exact day. I know, I can't remember the exact day that I uploaded my first video. It was either the end of July or the beginning of August. But I don't remember the exact day. So I just know that I'm about to come up on the year mark, and I'm hoping that YouTube is going to do some great thing where it's like, congrats on a year. But we'll see if that happens.
You might get an email.
Maybe. And I'm not sure if I will, because I joined YouTube in 2008. So if you go to like the About...
Oh, like you created an account?
Yeah. So if you go to the About section on my channel, you'll see my little blurb about my channel and then some other information, and then you see when I joined and how many total views I have on my channel. And so my join date was September something, I think. September 28th, because it was my dad's birthday. September 28th of 2008 was the date I joined YouTube, though I was not uploading any content until last year. So either the end of June or the beginning of July of 2022. So that join date does not reflect when I actually started uploading, so I'm not sure if YouTube will be able to differentiate between join date and when I actually started producing content.
Well, can't you just look at when the video was published?
I could go back and look at when I uploaded the first video, and I probably will at this point, because now that I'm spending so much time talking about it, I'm rather curious what that exact 1-year date is. But that is upcoming. We're excited about it. As we mentioned at the beginning of this episode, it is our 13th wedding anniversary today.
13 years of bliss.
You can be honest. That's one of the things that we do here on this channel.
Well,
we are honest.
I haven't had any problems.
No, I don't think we've had any serious challenges. We've had serious challenges. We have not had any challenges that we couldn't overcome. Clearly, we're still here. We're still married. And we do still love each other and most of the time like each other. So that's good. But We've definitely had times that have been more challenging than others, particularly the time around Charlie's birth. That was a very trying time, not between you and I in terms of being married and loving one another, but in terms of testing our patience for life and our ability to work as a team still, even under a lot of stress and pressure and through a very harrowing time in our lives. So we've definitely had challenges, as I think anyone in a long-term relationship will, but we've continued to put each other first, and that has resulted in reaching year 13, and we'll see how many more years we get to be on this earth and stay married. So
how long she is willing to put up with me.
That's what he says. We were at a wedding 2 nights ago for one of my very good friends, and there was a couple on the dance floor that they did that whole, if you are married, come out on the dance floor thing. There's a better way to describe it, but you're going to know what I mean. And then, they say if you've been married for less than 6 hours, 24 hours, whatever, get off the dance floor. And so the newlyweds have to leave. And then they do if you've been married for less than 5 years, 10 years. So we were able to stay for a good long while this time, which was nice because we've been married for 13 years. But there was a couple that had been married for 39 years, and that was really remarkable. And so, as they often do, the DJ asked her, what words of advice or encouragement do you have for others that you would say has helped you to have a successful marriage for 39 years? And she said, laugh a lot. And I liked that.
And this woman was the librarian when I was in high school.
Yeah, that's another connection. Yeah. And I mean, they were out on that dance floor and they were dancing and seemed very much in love with one another. It didn't feel fake or like a show or anything. So 39 years, laugh a lot. I feel like
59 years.
59? Oh, it was 59.
It was 59 years.
Yes.
I say 50. I think my parents have been married for 40 years.
Yep, you're right. 59 years. Yeah.
Is it my parents' 40th? Maybe it's over 40 now. 41.
I think it's over 40.
I don't know. Anyway, it seemed like 39 years, wasn't it? I was like...
Yeah, no, 59. 59 years. That's a long time of being married. So, laugh a lot is her advice, and advice that I would reiterate as well. Okay, we got cut off because my camera overheated, and I think that's also its way of saying you're talking a lot, wrap this up. So, we're going to move on, but 59 years of marriage and laugh a lot. Now we are moving on to the final thing that we're going to talk about. I think we'll save the kids and their summer stuff for a different Brittney and Brandon episode, but I did promise you a comical story. And now that I am past the situation, it is indeed comical. This is a family-friendly channel. I don't find this upcoming content to be inappropriate because it is related to natural things that occur to a woman's body, but I will give you the preface that that is what we're about to discuss. So if you have any young ears around that you would like to not have around, this is your opportunity to arrange that. And here we go. We were in Florida, as I mentioned. Right before we went to Florida, I had my menstrual cycle, and I don't track it anymore because it is erratic. And sometimes I have a 21-day cycle, sometimes I have a 25-day cycle. I never have a 28-day cycle. It just comes when it pleases. And so instead of bothering to try to track it with a calendar, I just listen to my body. And I feel like that works really well for me. And I do just fine with that system. So that is how I handle things when it comes to my menstrual cycle. Now, I had my menstrual cycle right before we went to Florida. So I use a cup,
menstrual cup.
A menstrual cup, thank you. Funnily enough, my husband was able to supply the word I needed. I use a menstrual cup, and I have not used tampons in years. And so I just have the menstrual cup at home, as well as some penny liners and things like that. But I chose not to bring the cup to Florida with us, is the point. And I thought, I just had my period, so even though I have an erratic cycle and it may be here in another 3 weeks, I'll be home by then, so it should be fine. So away we go to Florida, blissful time, loving life. We are leaving on a Saturday. On Thursday night, I start to get some signs that my menstrual cycle is going to begin again. And I'm not pleased about this, of course, because it has been just over 2 weeks at this point, and I don't have my cup with me. So I ignore it. I know that it's not going to start right away and that it's coming. So I'm hoping, this is Thursday night, I'm like, we just need to get through Friday, Saturday, and then we'll be home. So hopefully it will just do a nice slow
Friday,
tapering.
Saturday,
Just a nice slow tapering.
and then stop for 2 hours in Maryland, and then Sunday at almost midnight. So we're almost talking Monday by the time we're actually home.
Okay. Anyway, he's jumping ahead too far in the story. So this is my hope. Friday comes, I'm starting to see more signs, and so I tell him Friday night, tomorrow morning, because we were waiting until Saturday night to leave. We were making a stop in Maryland on our way home to meet our brand new niece. She is adorable, spoiler alert. And so we were trying to time it so that we did not arrive in Maryland at like 3 in the morning, because a brand new baby, we were not going to do that to Brandon's sister and
we didn't want to leave in the middle of the night because that would have sucked for us.
Right. So we were trying to leave around like 7 or 8 p.m. so that we could be in Maryland around 7 a.m., 8 a.m. So we had all day Saturday. So I said Friday night, tomorrow morning we're going to have to go to a store that has some cups, and I'm going to have to buy another cup. And so we did some research online. We discovered that Target had some cups, Walmart had some cups. So we had a plan to go to Target. Saturday comes, it's our last day there. We're packing, we're trying to fit in the last couple of little things we wanted to do. Excuse me. The last thing that I actually want to go and spend time on is purchasing a cup. And things have kind of slowed and settled, and I'm not really seeing any more signs of my period for a couple of hours. I knew this was not going to go the way I wanted it to, but instead of listening to that and instead of making a mature choice, I just made a choice based on what I wanted and didn't want in the moment. And I didn't want to go to Target and spend time hunting down a cup, so I did not. And Saturday evening came and we departed. I had on a panty liner and I was like, well, life's grand, here we go. And then sometime in the night, in between Saturday night and Sunday morning, while Brandon was driving and I was catching some Z's, my period decided, yep, it's time, here we are. And ended up leaving through my undergarments and the pants I was wearing, so that was not ideal. And about the time that I discovered this, I woke up and it was like 5-ish in the morning. So I said, Brandon, we're gonna have to find a place to stop. And we're gonna have to get a menstrual cup. We hadn't even made it to his sister's house in Maryland yet. And so we found a Walmart that opened at 6 a.m. We arrived at 6:06 a.m. And I went to pursue a menstrual cup. I found one called the Flex Cup. It had this neat little handle that you could or little thing you could pull to break the suction, and it came out nice and easy, and that was great. So I thought, cool, I'll just have 2 cups now and we'll call it a day. And I obviously needed to take care of this in the bathroom there. So I brought all of my purchases to the bathroom. I went into the large stall feeling like I just needed some space. There was no one else in there, so I thought, it's okay, I'm going to take the large stall. Hung all my stuff on the door, got the cup out, got it out of the box, and I'm like, I really should wash this. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go out to the sink. So I crack the door open, there's no one in there. I go to the sink, I rinse the cup, and then I am quickly trying to get back to the stall where 1, my purse and all of my other items are, and 2, I just want to get out of the line of sight because I really don't want someone to walk in and see me washing a cup in the sink. It just isn't something I really want to deal with at 6 o'clock in the morning after I've been traveling all night. So I'm hustling my way back to the stall, cup in hand, and out of the corner of my eye, I'm hustling away and I see urinal, urinal, urinal. I make it to the stall before any real processing occurs, And as I shut the door behind me and I'm able to take like a little breath and feel like I'm safe behind a door again, I'm like, urinals in the girls' bathroom? That's strange. Like, well, maybe they just do that in Virginia. That's where we were at the time. And then
Virginia's is it brotherly love? Is that, no. Virginia's for lovers. Yeah, that has nothing to do with urinals. Never mind.
No, yeah. So I'm trying to like keep myself calm, and I'm like, yeah, maybe in Virginia they just have urinals in a girl's bathroom. And I'm like, Brittney, that is not what's going on here. You are in the men's bathroom. You are taking care of this menstrual situation in the men's bathroom in a random Walmart in Virginia at 6:15 in the morning. That's what was happening. We're back again. This time, the card was full. That is crazy. A 256 gig card. I have never filled a 256 gig card before. I guess that's what vacationing in Florida will do. There's a lot of content that I still need to go through and edit and put together and all that. But anyway, back to the original story. Did what I needed to do in the men's bathroom. Not exactly sure when this cut off. Hopefully I'm not repeating myself, but did what I needed to do, then was desperately hoping I was not going to run into a male specimen when I exited the stall. Fortunately, I did not. I did not want to rush the hand washing process, but I was like, come on, let's go, let's wash, germs, goodbye. And out we went, and I did not run into any males in the bathroom. I was very thankful. And that cup got me through the rest of our traveling adventures, and we stopped in Maryland, snuggled our niece, who is beautiful, amazing, and perfect, and I'm so thankful we had that opportunity. And then we got ourselves home. We arrived home just before 11 p.m. on Sunday night, and we've now been home for
a week.
Just over a week. Yep. It feels like we've been home for a lot longer than that, but we have only been home for a week. Today is Monday. And
we went right back at. It's just been a crazy time since.
It has. We've been straight out between kids' sporting events and the wedding that I mentioned earlier.
And my class started.
His class started. I was in the wedding. I was a bridesmaid. The first wedding I've ever gotten to be in. That was very fun. And all three of our children were in the wedding. Eli was a groomsman. Colin was the ring bearer, and Charlie was a flower girl. So we had lots of roles and lots of outfits and items that needed to be purchased. And I made a not super great choice and didn't take care of my dress and the alterations that needed to occur to it until we were home from our trip. So all is well. The dress is altered. It was beautiful. I had it on time. There were no issues. I found a wonderful seamstress who took me in on Brandon. Okay, I do need to give credit where credit is due. Brandon found a wonderful seamstress for me. I was just in that mentality of like, I know I've made bad choices and I do not need to now call people to try to get me out of the bad choice that I made, just for them to remind me with their tone of voice or alarmed response that I've made a bad choice. I just don't need that. My anxiety was like, yeah, my anxiety was like, that's a no from me, not doing that. So I passed the baton to Brandon, who he's a team player.
I had no role in the wedding, yet I had to deal with altering a dress.
Yeah. Yep. So I heard him on the phone saying, well, my wife is going to be in a wedding. Could you alter her bridesmaid's dress? And we found a woman who took me on Thursday night before the Saturday wedding, and she got the dress altered. Brandon picked it up Saturday at 8, brought it to me on site where the wedding was being held, and I slipped into it and all was well in time for the 4:30 p.m. wedding. So I would not recommend that. However, everything worked out. So that's a recap on life as of late. And the rest of the summer looks a little more low-key. We have weekly commitments to track, which is something that 2 of our 3 children are participating in. Brandon will have his summer class 3 days a week until mid-August. And then we have a few other little like day trips thrown in there. But it's time for freedom and no real big plans or anything of that nature for the next 6 weeks before school starts. And I'm mind blown at the fact that I'm seeing back to school stuff in stores, it makes me nauseous. I'm not ready for that. So we're going to ignore that and not talk about the back to school season. We call it BTS. No BTS around here. We are discussing no BTS. So, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Brittney and Brandon Show. Brandon did next to no talking. We're going to work on that. If you have any suggestions of ways to get him to talk more, please leave a comment for him. I'll read it to him, but leave a comment for him and tell him what he can do.
I'm sorry.
He's a man of few words, but that doesn't really work when you...
They're good words.
They're good words. Few but good.
Oh, yeah. I like it.
Yeah, that doesn't really work when you have a podcast with your wife, so...
Yeah, but it's my wife's podcast with me. So it makes sense that you do most of the talking.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Brittney and Brandon Show. We love that you are here with us, riding along on this crazy journey that we all call life. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give it a like, share it with anyone else that you think may enjoy it. Leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you. Even if you're just saying hi, we would love to come and say hi right back. We will be excited to see you in the next episode. Oh my gosh, I've forgotten how we end this. What do we say?
I say something that doesn't make any sense.
I know. Oh my gosh, I forgot. It's been so long.
See you in the...
I say see you in the next one?
Next one? Sure.
No, I say we can't wait to see you. How do we end these? We can't wait to see you in the next one?
Sure. Wow.
Yeah, in the next one.
Because I always say the next time. That's
Yeah,
what it is.
and it's in the next one. All right, so we can't wait to see you.
In the next one.
That's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
You made my table all messy.
I know.
Jeez.
Sorry.
My poor craft space.
Well, your shelf.
Bamboozled you. Wait. Put it in the trash can. Use the trash can. Push the button. No. That's not how you're supposed to use the trash can.
It's a foot pedal.
Look what you did to my trash can. It's on the shelf. That was violent. Cool it.
How's my elbow look?
Looks great. I wouldn't even know it ever bled.
It still hurts.
I'm sorry. Ice cream time. That'll make you feel better.
Are you taking a shower first? Just take a shower first. I'm pretty awake.
You're what?
I'm pretty awake, so just take a shower first.
Perfect. I'll take a shower first. That is my preference, to take a shower first and then enjoy the ice cream. Don't burp in the mic.